Vamos a continuar con la sesión. Me informan por secretaría que la testigo ha llegado, sin embargo, la señora fiscal y el licenciado Saurí tienen una petición. Señora fiscal, la escucho.
Sí, en efecto, señora juez, ya la licenciada Yara Campos llegó al tribunal. Sin embargo, juez, nosotros tenemos una solicitud ya conversada con alguna de las defensas de manera muy respetuosa y consciente, juez, como Ministerio Público, del respeto que tenemos a los tiempos procesales y al esfuerzo que está haciendo el tribunal para llevar adelante este acto de audiencia. Sin embargo, ya hemos comunicado al tribunal y a las partes, nos preocupa el hecho de la continuidad del testimonio de la señora Yara Campos, que hemos alterado o tuvo que alterarse el orden, juez, de los testigos porque es la que estaba ubicable para que se presentara al tribunal. Sin embargo, juez, ya usted indicó que va a sesionar hasta la 1 de la tarde aproximadamente y van a ser las 12. Nosotros, juez, conscientes de esa función que usted tiene y la responsabilidad que tiene el Ministerio Público siempre para colaborar con el tribunal y el buen ejercicio de las defensas y el nuestro también, queríamos solicitarle, juez, que nos permita iniciar con el testimonio de la señora Yara Campos. El día de mañana a las 8:30 iniciamos con ella. De hecho, el Ministerio Público se compromete, juez, a tener al resto de los testigos que tienen un poco más de problema para llegar, pero que es la obligación de ellos de estar presente, para aprovechar el tiempo procesal. Tome en cuenta, juez, también que la señora Yara Campos es testigo común con las defensas del señor Dubois, con la defensa del señor Jaime Lazo, y que es un testimonio que no va a concluir en lo que nos resta de tiempo. Esa era la solicitud, juez, que queríamos hacerle de manera pues muy respetuosa.
Gracias, fiscal. Licenciado Saurí, micrófono, por favor.
Sí, juez, en esa misma línea de pensamiento nosotros vamos a tener que coincidir con el Ministerio Público, considerando la hora. Usted ha dispuesto que a la 1 de la tarde, más tardar, se cierra la sesión del día de hoy y la instalación de la testigo, por el tiempo que pueda transcurrir, va a romper con ese principio de concentración. A la defensa le preocupa que la testigo quede liberada en lo que resta del día para el día de mañana nuevamente continuar con su testimonio, lo que rompe con ese principio de concentración. Nosotros consideramos en esta parte viable la solicitud, tanto por interés propio de la defensa del señor Carlos Dubois como lo ha manifestado el Ministerio Público.
Gracias. ¿Alguien más tiene algo que añadir en relación a la petición de la fiscal y del licenciado Saurí? El licenciado Muñoz también es proponente de esta prueba, el testimonio de la señora Yara Ivette Campos Berrío. Sí, licenciado Horizon.
Sí, señora juez, nosotros coincidimos con la fiscal y con el licenciado Saurí por el tema de la concentración. Es una testigo que para nuestra teoría del caso es de suma importancia y es saludable que su rendición sea de manera continua e ininterrumpida en una sesión, así que nosotros también solicitamos que sea a partir del día de mañana.
Bien. Ha quedado claro que las sesiones a lo largo de la semana, desde hoy lunes hasta el viernes, se seguirán llevando desde las 8:30 de la mañana hasta la 1 de la tarde. En el evento de que haya alguna persona, alguno de los presentes que para la 1 de la tarde, y lo digo pues en atención a esa buena fe, que considere que por alguna razón no debe estar o no puede estar hasta la 1 de la tarde, razón de salud, entonces por favor que me lo haga saber si es necesario a través del personal de secretaría. En atención pues a ese principio de concentración, entiendo lo que la señora fiscal y los abogados defensores han sustentado. Es probable que durante el desarrollo de esta audiencia no se logre finalizar o cerrar todas las declaraciones que se inicien, pero al menos intentaremos iniciar la declaración temprano, o sea, mañana la primera declaración, según indica la fiscal, y ha expuesto las razones por las que sería su primera testigo que comparece, desde las 8:30 de la mañana y a lo largo pues, del transcurso de la mañana los abogados defensores tendrán la oportunidad también de, como proponentes de la prueba, de hacer su interrogatorio. Igualmente los que tengan repreguntas podrán formular repreguntas a la testigo. Creo que, no sé si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, alguna duda. Bien, entonces procedo a cerrar la sesión, siendo las 11 de la mañana con 55 minutos, para continuar mañana martes a las 8:30 de la mañana hasta la 1 de la tarde. Agradezco a todas las partes, inicialmente por favor, no he terminado, señores, no he terminado. Principalmente, pues, Fiscalía, tener sus testigos en tiempo a fin de aprovechar, ¿verdad? En la medida que vaya finalizando uno, llegue el otro y no haya, pues, una pérdida de tiempo innecesaria.
Así será, señora juez.
Gracias.
I'm begging you, stop using Canva and ChatGPT like a children's toy. AI will create more millionaires in 5 years than the internet did in 20. Do this for 15 minutes a day, and by February, you won't recognize yourself.
I mean, most people of my age don't realize that AI will create more millionaires in 5 years. Now it can build an entire app in 90 seconds, while most folks over 40 know only ChatGPT or Canva.
What if I've never used AI before?
Perfect. We're starting the 28-day AI challenge built for beginners over 40. In just 15 minutes a day, unlock new skills, new opportunities, and a new sense of purpose.
So when does the challenge start showing results?
Week 1, you're unstoppable. Week 2, you're ahead of almost everyone you know. By day 28, your full AI roadmap is ready. Tap the link and start tomorrow.
Where the puck is going next in the global economy, which makes this a fitting moment to introduce a former hockey player, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. The ability to remain calm in fast-moving, high-pressure moments has defined Mark's career. In 2008, he led the Bank of Canada and helped steer his economy through the worst market turmoil in all our lives, in our generation. In the aftermath of Brexit, he became the first non-Brit to serve as a governor of the Bank of England. And last year, he was elected very deservingly as Prime Minister for Canada at what may be one of the most pivotal moments in modern Canadian history. Today, Prime Minister Carney is focused on making Canada a place where it's easier to build, simpler to trade, smarter to invest in, and build more unity across its nation. For 41 million Canadians, the world's 10th largest economy, he is a steady and thoughtful leader, and I am proud to call him a friend. Please join me in welcoming Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
Thank you very much, Larry. I'm going to start in French, and then I'll switch back to English. Merci, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. It is both a pleasure and a duty to be with you tonight in this pivotal moment that Canada and the world are going through. Today I will talk about a rupture in the world order, the end of a pleasant fiction and the beginning of a harsh reality where geopolitics, where the large main power geopolitics is submitted to no limits, no constraints. On the other hand, I would like to tell you that the other countries, especially intermediate powers like Canada, are not powerless. They have the capacity to build a new order that encompasses our values, such as respect for human rights, sustainable development, solidarity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of the various states. The power of the less power starts with honesty.
It seems that every day we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the rules-based order is fading, that the strong can do what they can and the weak must suffer what they must. And this aphorism of Thucydides is presented as inevitable, as the natural logic of international relations reasserting itself. And faced with this logic, there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't. So what are our options? In 1978, the Czech dissident Václav Havel, later president, wrote an essay called The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And his answer began with a greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: "Workers of the world unite." He doesn't believe it. No one does. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists. Not through violence alone, but through the participation of ordinary people in rituals they privately know to be false. Havel called this living within a lie. The system's power comes not from its truth, but from everyone's willingness to perform as if it were true. And its fragility comes from the same source. When even one person stops performing, when the greengrocer removes his sign, the illusion begins to crack. Friends, it is time for companies and countries to take their signs down. For decades,
Usar tus redes sociales para ver o subir contenido puede consumir hasta 1 giga de datos en solo 1 hora. ¿Por qué conformarte con una eSIM que apenas te da 1 giga de datos por todo un viaje de 7 días? Olvídate de pagar de más haciendo recargas. No arriesgues tu conexión solo por ahorrar $1. Con HolaFly, disfruta de datos ilimitados y mantente conectado en más de 200 destinos sin preocupaciones. Visita holafly.com y compara.
Están los que buscan su destino y los destinados a buscar lo que encuentran sus raíces y lo que van para enraizar. Hay formas de ir a Europa y no tantas de volar, porque volar es parte de tu destino y ahí está tu libertad.
for decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false. that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals. And we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. The multilateral institutions on which the middle powers have relied, the WTO, the UN, the COP, the architecture, the very architecture of collective problem solving are under threat. And as a result, many countries are drawing the same conclusions, that they must develop greater strategic autonomy in energy, food, critical minerals, in finance and supply chains. And this impulse is understandable. A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. But let's be clear-eyed about where this leads. A world of fortresses will be poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. And there's another truth. If great powers abandon even the pretense of rules and values for the unhindered pursuit of their power and interests, the gains from transactionalism will become harder to replicate. Hegemons cannot continually monetize their relationships. Allies will diversify to hedge against uncertainty. They'll buy insurance, increase options, in order to rebuild sovereignty. Sovereignty that was once grounded in rules but will increasingly be anchored in the ability to withstand pressure. This room knows this is classic risk management. Risk management comes at a price. But that cost of strategic autonomy, of sovereignty, can also be shared. Collective investments in resilience are cheaper than everyone building their own fortresses. Shared standards reduce fragmentations. Complementarities are positive sum. And the question for middle powers like Canada is not whether to adapt to the new reality. We must. The question is whether we adapt by simply building higher walls or whether we can do something more ambitious. Now, Canada was amongst the first to hear the wake-up call, leading us to fundamentally shift our strategic posture. Canadians know that our old, comfortable assumptions that our geography and alliance memberships automatically conferred prosperity and security, that assumption is no longer valid. And our new approach rests on what Alexander Stubb, the President of Finland, has termed value-based realism. Or to put another way, we aim to be both principled and pragmatic. Principled in our commitment to fundamental values, sovereignty, territorial integrity, the prohibition of the use of force except when consistent with the UN Charter, and respect for human rights. And pragmatic in recognizing that progress is often incremental, that interests diverge, that not every partner will share all of our values. So we're engaging broadly, strategically, with open eyes. We actively take on the world as it is, not wait around for a world we wish to be. We are calibrating our relationships so their depth reflects our values. And we're prioritizing broad engagement to maximize our influence. Given the fluidity of the world at the moment, the risks that this poses, and the stakes for what comes next. And we are no longer just relying on the strength of our values, but also the value of our strength. We are building that strength at home. Since my government took office, we have cut taxes on incomes, on capital gains, and business investment. We have removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade. We are fast-tracking $1 trillion of investments in energy, AI, critical minerals, new trade corridors, and beyond. We're doubling our defense spending by the end of this decade, and we're doing so in ways that build our domestic industries. And we are rapidly diversifying abroad. We've agreed a comprehensive strategic partnership with the EU, including joining SAFE, the European Defence Procurement Arrangements. We have signed 12 other trade and security deals on 4 continents in 6 months. In the past few days, we've concluded new strategic partnerships with China and Qatar. We're negotiating free trade pacts with India, ASEAN, Thailand, Philippines, and Mercosur. We're doing something else. To help solve global problems, we're pursuing variable geometry. In other words, different coalitions for different issues based on common values and interests. So on Ukraine, we're a core member of the Coalition of the Willing and one of the largest per capita contributors to its defense and security. On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future. Our commitment to NATO's Article 5 is unwavering. So we're working with our NATO allies, including the Nordic-Baltic Gate, to further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks, including through Canada's unprecedented investments in over-the-horizon radar, in submarines, in aircraft, and boots on the ground, boots on the ice. Canada strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve our shared objectives of security and prosperity in the Arctic. On plurilateral trade, we're championing efforts to build a bridge between the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the European Union, which would create a new trading bloc of 1.5 billion people. On critical minerals, we're forming buyers' clubs anchored in the G7 so that the world can diversify away from concentrated supply. And on AI, we're cooperating with like-minded democracies to ensure that we won't ultimately be forced to choose between hegemons and hyperscalers. This is not naive multilateralism, nor is it relying on their institutions. It's building coalitions that work, issues by issue, with partners who share enough common ground to act together. In some cases, this will be the vast majority of nations. What it's doing is creating a dense web of connections across trade, investment, culture, on which we can draw for future challenges and opportunities. I argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. But I'd also say that great powers can afford for now to go it alone. They have the market size, the military capacity, and the leverage to dictate terms. Middle powers do not. But when we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. We accept what's offered. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. This is not sovereignty. It's the performance of sovereignty while accepting subordination. In a world of great power rivalry, the countries in between have a choice: compete with each other for favor, or to combine to create a third path with impact. We shouldn't allow the rise of hard power to blind us to the fact that the power of legitimacy, integrity, and rules will remain strong if we choose to wield them together.
Skip the headaches, grab the keys. Economy Bookings makes it easy. Enjoy the journey and take in the views. Set the tone for your trip and cherish the moment. Drive in comfort and get a head start to your break. Book today on economybookings.com.
So why should I learn a language with either of you? We match you with the best tutor for
60
you.
days trick,
We provide you with personalized one-to-one plans.
200 days trick.
You can book lessons whenever you want and within your budget.
We have animated characters.
We have humans. You get the real human connection.
It's fun.
We're also fun, and it's also very helpful. Well, so Preply.
Discover the better duo. Improve your language skills with a Preply tutor.
Which brings me back to Havel. What does it mean for middle powers to live the truth? Well, first, it means naming reality. Stop invoking rules-based international order as though it still functions as advertised. Call it what it is, a system of intensifying great power rivalry where the most powerful pursue their interests using economic integration as coercion. It means acting consistently, applying the same standards to allies and rivals. When middle powers criticize economic intimidation from one direction but stay silent when it comes from another, we are keeping the sign in the window. It means building what we claim to believe in. Rather than waiting for the old order to be restored, it means creating institutions and agreements that function as described. And it means reducing the leverage that enables coercion. That's building a strong domestic economy. It should be every government's immediate priority. And diversification internationally is not just economic prudence, it's a material foundation for honest foreign policy, because countries earn the right to principled stands by reducing their vulnerability to retaliation. So Canada. Canada has what the world wants. We are an energy superpower. We hold vast reserves of critical minerals. We have the most educated population in the world. Our pension funds are amongst the world's largest and most sophisticated investors. In other words, we have capital, talent. We also have a government with immense fiscal capacity to act decisively. And we have the values to which many others aspire. Canada is a pluralistic society that works. Our public square is loud, diverse, and free. Canadians remain committed to sustainability. We are a stable and reliable partner in a world that is anything but. A partner that builds and values relationships for the long term. And we have something else. We have a recognition of what's happening and a determination to act accordingly. We understand that this rupture calls for more than adaptation. It calls for honesty about the world as it is. We are taking the sign out of the window. We know the old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy. But we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just. This is the task of the middle powers. The countries that have the most to lose from a world of fortresses and a most to gain from genuine cooperation. The powerful have their power. But we have something too. The capacity to stop pretending, to name reality, to build our strength at home, and to act together. That is Canada's path. We choose it openly and confidently, and it is a path wide open to any country willing to take it with us. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. I don't think I've seen many standing ovations at Davos, so that was interesting. You said, there was a phrase in your speech where you said sovereignty now is the ability to withstand pressure. Isn't Canada almost uniquely vulnerable to pressure because of the extent of your trade dependence on the United States?
Well, the proof is that we have been able to withstand the pressure, and there has been considerable pressure. I'll give you a couple of facts. We've actually created more jobs since the tariffs were put on than the United States in absolute number. Economy is growing at the second fastest rate within the G7. That's not, there are pockets of extreme pressure without question in Canada. But headline, we're reacting. The second thing, and it's a fundamental point, is the recognition that we can give ourselves far more than any foreign country can take away. There's lots of efficiencies in having one Canadian market, the $1 trillion of domestic investment, and building these partnerships abroad, all of which are bigger returns than what's been lost. That's not to say we would rather not lose it, but we can withstand the pressure, and we are.
And I was interested that you said basically the old world's not coming back. So you're not seeing this as a period where you just have to get through and normalcy will return.
I think that is our view. And we regret it, but we're not going to sit around and mourn it. We're acting. And we're acting in a way, both that's in our interests, but we believe in a way with others that's building imperfectly in steps a new system. I'll give you one example.